know the issues and the background information as much as you can. Of course, if you're coming into this cold today, learning the issues expansively as some of the people here might not be possible in one night, but definitely make an effort to be well informed. And if you don't know an answer to a question, don't be afraid to say, I don't know the answer, and then you'll find it out. That's a perfect way to do a follow-up and reestablish contact with them after the visit. So break the ice when you walk in. That includes introductions, where you're from, what university, kind of the same stuff that we did when we first started this meeting. And try to establish a relationship, like I talked about before, with the staff member or the member of Congress. So if you're a constituent of that area, I mean, there's other kind of small talk that everybody does, when they meet new people. And that same type of thing you can engage in with the staffer, either at the end or at the beginning. And that, will help establish kind of like a pseudo relationship with that staffer. And have a story that's related to the issues if possible. So personal stories are the best, and for the stuff, the bills we're talking about, open access, where you're trying to get access to research, that directly applies to probably some experiences you had, or tax incentives if you're in graduate school and pursuing a graduate degree was kind of a big choice for you based on undergraduate loans and whatnot. Those are the type of personal stories that you can bring to the table and make the appeal. You don't want to seem disconnected from the issue. So be polite but persistent. You don't want to get into an arguing match in a law visit. You don't want to start getting overheated or even being too curt. You want to be polite, but you want to drive home the point that you're trying to pursue, which is the support of a bill, co-sponsoring a bill, or even just supporting an issue and trying to get them to say, give some response back, what the congressman would do, or how they might proceed by recommending it to one of their LAs who work specifically on that issue, like tax incentives or open access. Try to relate the issue to the point of view of the staffer or member of Congress, so that that's something you can do in a meeting, and you kind of modify what you're going to say based on responses they get back. So that's kind of a thing you get with experience, but it's good to say. And you want to educate and create awareness about the issue, and that includes, providing concrete facts to tell them, and providing them with a history of where this bill has been. If there's been previous bills that have been introduced which have never gotten out of committee, that are, so if you've been pushing for this for years, you really want to make sure that they are aware of the history of the bill. And like I said before, if you don't know the answer to a question, be sure to promise to investigate and follow up. Like I said, it's a perfect opportunity to reestablish contact. And ask further questions at the end. That's very important, because you want to engage them, and that's the best opportunity. Some of them might not ask you questions and don't feel like you have to prod them too much, but a lot of them will ask questions, and be open with them and share your answers if you do have them. So after the visit, and this is very important too, take notes as soon as possible on the questions they asked and the reactions. This will help not only you in your follow-up, but also if you're sharing the information with other lobbyists, like all of the other graduate students in this room, that'll help them approach other new representatives or senators who they haven't talked to before. The perceptions in some offices are found throughout the House or the Senate, so we definitely want to have a catalog basically of the different type of positions people are taking on an issue. And keep track of who is a possible supporter and opponent of the issue based on the information that's given. And that is something that you can ask, in a visit, who else do you think might be supportive of this issue? And usually they'll give you maybe some names, and maybe you've met with them already, these other people they've mentioned. Maybe those people are already co-sponsors of the bill that they're not aware of. But you want to get those names if possible, and then maybe you can do a walk-in visit with them on this other recommended name later in the day. So that's possible as well. You don't have to just go to scheduled visits. You can do walk-in visits and ask if a staffer is available to talk to. And since we're here for 2 days, you can maybe even schedule it for the next day. If they're like, oh, I'm really busy today, we're like, well, I'm here tomorrow. So it's hard for them to get away. mean, they're there to serve you. You know, they're working for you. And then write and send a thank you email with follow-up information as soon as possible, usually within the next week. So you want to make sure that they don't forget who you are. And if you reestablish contact fast, that'll, you know, strengthen the bond that you have. And then if you are asking for support in the future, they'll remember you and it'll be all good. And keep all the scheduling information from the visit to assist you with the next visit. So that includes emails of the schedulers, the staff you met with, and then also they might even recommend for you to meet with staff in that office next time, like a different staff member that might be more associated with the issue you're talking about. So definitely keep all that contact information, catalog it, don't just write it down, but like put it in your contact in Outlook or, you know, your Gmail contacts or something like that, and do that as soon as you can, because you might lose that business card and then you have to go through the whole process of looking it up online, and that's a pain in the butt. So this is kind of an overview slide of the lobby visit, where you have four main parts, you know, open, connect, ask, and thank you. And I didn't drive that home earlier, but we want to make a clear, actionable request, and that's, do you support this issue? Will you co-sponsor this bill? So for some of the House tax incentive bills, we're really trying to push for co-sponsors, and then for like FERPA in the Senate, it's kind of hard to get co-sponsors, so we're, you know, just kind of pushing for their support, saying that they will, getting them to say that they'll support it, and then if it does come to the floor of the Senate, you know, hopefully they will not come or renege on their actual statement. And so, open, connect, ask, and thank you. And then applying those 4 steps to FERPA, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, and she's going to talk about the FERPA issue and I'll talk about the tax issues and the graduate student loans.
I have the clicker, so that's good. Okay, great. I'm going to talk about the Federal Public Access Act, and this is a piece of legislation that is on your agenda for the year. This has definitely been an exciting piece of legislation the last year and a half. You're coming in at kind of a funny time that the House adjourned on Wednesday, Thursday, and that you'll be meeting staff. So tomorrow and Tuesday are going to be pretty quiet there. So you'll have an opportunity to talk about these pieces of legislation. Walking FERPA through our stepwise approach, of course, you're going to yourself and talk about the organization you're representing, and this is going to kind of carry through your ask on all the issues that you all have elected to be part of the affairs agenda. You're going to give an overview on public access and how will it impact you as a graduate student. Your ask in all these meetings goes back to Julia's point about doing your research. You may be with a member of Congress that has already signed on to this piece of legislation. It's to know that so you don't sign on already. So at that point, your ask is changed slightly, and you're going to, you know, we are so grateful for your boss's support on this piece of legislation. Thank you so much. We hope you'll weigh in with the chairman of the jurisdiction to help us move this bill forward, and we'll talk a little bit about that. In the Senate, the number is 1373. In the House, 5037. And we also have this issue of language in American. So the ask there is to support the pro-public access language in the reauthorization.